The year's just starting to get rolling. We got games coming out and we got game announcements. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, January 19th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Speaking of a lot of big announcements this week, Xbox had a developer showcase where they had the developers come on and talk about a bunch of games that are coming out. The biggest of which I'm highlighting here. So we'll start off with Avowed. This was their another first-person kind of fantasy game. I think it kind of struck me as a little Sea of Thieves like, especially with the art style, and you were on islands, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit more magical, a little bit more wizardy. So take pirates out of your head, and maybe it's more kind of a first person fantasy wizard game. So yeah, I think, and hopefully there's other ways to play with the melee and all that kind of stuff. And obviously for all of you stealth archers out there, we'll probably hopefully be able to play kind of a sneak build in Avowed. But yeah, this is their RPG for the year. We got Fable in a year and Elder Scrolls and all that kind of stuff we can talk about later. But for now, hopefully we'll get Avowed sometime this fall. That was the announced time frame for Avowed. So looking forward to that one. Now, a game I am very excited for, and I wish I had put on my competitive slate, Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice. We have a confirmed launch date, and it's sooner than you think. I would have thought August timeframe. Usually, developers like launching in the same week that they launched a previous game, and so Hellblade came out in August, early August, back in 2017. 2017, I think it was 2017. But now they're coming out in May, and Hellblade 2 is coming May 21st. So just around my birthday time, I will be taking a weekend off to play through Hellblade in one sitting, hopefully. The first game was only 6 hours. Hopefully this is a little bit longer than that. But anyway, I'll be excited to hear some people talking in my head while I'm trying to run around killing mythological beasts. So looking forward to Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice, coming this May. There's also finally got some more information and kind of a trailer and gameplay trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Great Circle. Yeah, we didn't get any details on kind of release time frame, but we got to see a weird version of Indiana Jones, just semi-uncanny version of Indiana Jones, kind of like the most recent Indiana Jones movie, of just seeing young Harrison Ford just is really uncanny now, and so they're kind of building that into the game. Gives you the Indiana Jones experience that you didn't know you wanted. But yeah, and then it showed a lot of eventually you'll get a revolver, so you can just shoot people rather than hit them with your whip. But there's a lot of whip action, and there's a lot of swinging, but it's all in first person, so it's not very, I bet they're trying to differentiate themselves from like a Nathan Drake experience. So yeah, so I think they got a little bit of an uphill battle, but I'm interested to see what differentiates Indiana Jones from a Nathan Drake, which was probably based on Indiana Jones back in the day. But yeah, those are all the kind of big games. There's also a Visions of Mana or Trials of Mana game coming out, and there's a bunch of other titles, but those are the kind of ones that the top of the list caught my eye. So let me know if I forgot any down below in the comments. The Last of Us 2 remaster launched today. It's launching today, and it has a Metacritic score, which I don't know that remasters always get a Metacritic score, but this one has like a roguelike mode and a lot more story content, and just ultimate 4K upgrade since it only launched on last gen. And yeah, so I've been looking for a reason to get into The Last of Us 2. I've been feeling that itch to kind of go back and play it, especially before season 2 drops, so that's not till next year. But the Metacritic for it is at 90, which you shouldn't be surprised by, since the initial release got a 93 Metacritic. I would have expected somewhere in there for a re-release. So yeah, I'm looking forward to potentially picking this up and having it be my game for the rest of the month. Speaking of games that I haven't talked about in a while, Plants vs. Zombies 3. One of the original mobile games is there's a third version of it, or another sequel of it coming out sometime this year. And yeah, I love the Plants vs. Zombies games, or at least I love the mobile Plants vs Zombie games. I never played any of like the shooters, the third person shooters or anything like that. But yeah, big Plants vs Zombies fan, and always looking for another mobile game to play while I'm using the toilet. Um, moving right along. Speaking of another game that launched this week, Pal World. You might not recognize it by its name, but it is that video game that is basically Pokemon, but everything, all the Pokemon, all the cute fuzzy creatures get assault rifles and guns and stuff. So I think that's how it's just go around, collect Pokemons, give them guns, and they shoot at each other. Bringing that kind of dogfighting experience to a whole new level. But there's no Metacritic on it yet, but from what I've seen, it's blowing up everywhere. And the articles I have seen is it's like at the top of the list on Steam. And the one I'll be citing down below is that it has 1 million sales within the first 8 hours. Well, I don't want to detract from what I would assume is also a really good game. But there's also not quite a lot to wrap our head around, and so I'm surprised to see this kind of indie game popping off. But yeah, Pal World has sold 1 million units in the first 8 hours. So good on them and the team. And yeah, I've already got friends who are picking it up, and so I'm excited to hear about what they think of it. Moving right along, the president of Ubisoft wanted to talk about game ownership this week. He had an interview and he was talking about how people, I mean, and it goes without saying, because a lot of subscription service, like you play the game and you don't, there's a lot more game subscription services out there, and so you don't really own any of the games you pick up and play. And I know that people, I mean, GameStop is all built on like not owning things and selling it back to GameStop. So game ownership is kind of in a funny place. Physical media is basically dead. So talking about game ownership and getting people used to that concept is just kind of what the president of Ubisoft was talking to. Although anytime like a CEO or someone at the top of a company talks about like taking less, giving the consumer less, it's always going to be a knee-jerk reaction to feel bad. But I don't think that he was saying anything that isn't just kind of true in the market nowadays. So, but yeah, I mean, with a lot of subscription service, you don't own the games, and so I still subscribe to Game Pass and love playing games on Game Pass. Although I should probably turn it off when I'm not playing it. But yeah, owning games, I don't think is consumers nowadays. I don't think they have too many qualms with that. So it was just kind of interesting to kind of talk about that. And like I said, knee-jerk reaction. Anytime a CEO or someone high up tells us that we should get less, it's going to feel bad. Rock Band 4, after almost a decade of creating content, will no longer be making any DLC. Their last DLC, I think, is coming in the next few weeks. And the developers kind of talked about it. Harmonix talked about it this week, and it sounded a little salty in the article I was reading that and I mean, we kind of knew it was coming. With Fortnite putting out a rhythm game, like that's gonna eat up a lot of their market share. So if you want to jump in and play Fortnite, a rhythm game in Fortnite with friends, like you're gonna play that potentially over a game that's been around for over a decade. So although Fortnite's getting up there now, like Fortnite's been around for 7-8 years now. So but yeah, no more Rock Band 4 DLC. So won't get any more new songs to play on our expensive plastic. Speaking of physical media. Anyway, moving right along, we had a kind of art imitating life moment this week. Until Dawn, Until Dawn, the video game that is very much like a movie in that it's a slasher movie that you kind of sit around and play with friends and have a few jump scares and quick time events to get through, is getting a movie based on the concept, which is kind of an Ouroboros snake eating itself kind of situation, in that Until Dawn was kind of like replicating the slasher movie experience, but with gameplay, and now that gameplay is being replicated into a movie. And it might be interesting in that you could probably get most of the cast to come back. Rami Malek, Hayden Panettiere. You can get them all to come back and play their same characters, and it'd probably look and feel very similar to the game, which is, I guess, a decade old at this point. I think Until Dawn came out in 2014. I don't know why I'm citing all the years that these games came out, but just kind of interesting to see. I mean, more game adaptations coming to the big screen, but yeah, an Until Dawn movie feels very close. They were already pretty close. So like they're basically the same thing now. In that slasher video game that wants to be a movie is now a movie. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. The Sims 4, a game I don't think I've picked up, but the latest DLC coming out for The Sims 4 has something that is for me, as both someone with a dark inner spirit and who loves castles. That's their next DLC. So I think this was community voted on it, on what they wanted to see in the next Sims DLC. And you get goth and goth, like, dark eyeline, hoodies, all that kind of stuff, goth dressings, and you get castles. So I'm pretty sure the targeted audience for this is basically a circle, in that goths and big cold stone buildings feel very, that's probably I believe that to be the original intention of goth, like short for gothic, which was dark broody castles. But yeah, so pretty cool DLC that potentially for secret goth kids like me to play on their Sims 4 game. So looking feel free to check that out down below. We got, speaking of game announcements, there's been a lot this week. Frostpunk 2, we get to see a little bit more of what we should expect. Frostpunk 2 is expected to come out this year. And yeah, the cities are looking like they're getting a lot bigger. And just the choices that were so important in playing your game in Frostpunk are going to even be more important. There's more ways, there's more laws. You can kind of institute a voting system to see if what your constituents think, and so it's gonna make for a lot of really interesting choices coming to Frostpunk 2, and just more crazy technology, as it looked like the electrical grid was starting to get crazy and it reacts, and there might be riots and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see all the new developments for Frostpunk 2. Last but not least, when you are speaking of goth kids, when you're as vampire obsessed as I am, you see a game with vampire in the title and you immediately turn your eyes, and that's what I did this week. Undead have a long time to live, in that they are post-death, living on potentially forever, and that gives you a lot of time to self-reflect and look back on your decisions and unpack all your issues, and that's what you're going to be doing in Vampire Therapist. I don't know if you actually play as the cowboy, but that's the kind of character that they presented in the trailer I saw this week. I'll have a link down below. And yeah, you get to play as a vampire therapist running around trying to navigate the inner politics of the vampire underworld, while also working out any deep-seated issues you might have. So I'm very interested to see what this game looks like. I'll have to add it to my Steam wish list sometime too soon. But that's it for this week. Let me know if you feel I forgot anything down below in the comments. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, please follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. Hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend, and I hope you have a super day. Bye!